Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Westman. Today we're going to be chatting about keto and kidney function. We also have a bonus for you, and it's Dr. Westman's free keto phase calculator. We'll put a link for you in the description. How are things going, Eric?
Going great. How are you, Glenn?
Very, very good. Thank you. So, Eric, I cannot tell you, we get a number of emails and we often get asked the question, is a keto or low carb diet harmful to your kidneys? Now, where does this actually come from? That people think that somehow by doing a keto or low carb diet, that it's going to be harmful to your kidneys, or long term, it's going to be harmful.
Yeah, I get questions about that all the time. So doctors were taught, when I was in training, even up until today, that protein in the food is bad for kidney function. We're just taught that. Now, there's no evidence for it. It's one of those things that you get taught, and then when you start asking, well, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? And they just, the teacher just kind of, we don't know. Actually, it comes from the idea that one of the functions of the kidney is to kind of let some protein out and keep some protein in. So if you have protein in the urine, it's a sign of a malfunctioning kidney or a kidney problem. So sometimes it's the illogic that because there's protein in the urine, it must be protein in the food and protein in the blood and the urine that makes the protein in the urine. And that means protein in the food is bad for the kidneys. And actually, when you try to find evidence for this in the medical literature, it doesn't exist. So it's a preconception or prejudgment, prejudice, if you will, against the low carb, high protein, high fat. Well, really, so there's the other thing. What we teach, keto, if you do it right, it's not a high protein diet. So even if protein was a problem with the kidneys, if you do keto right, it's not even a high protein diet. So that's just another misunderstanding about what keto really means, which is get adequate protein when you're running your body on fat and ketones instead of sugar and carbs.
There really is so much misinformation out there. One of the things that I can, off the top of my head, is you've just mentioned that people think that it's a high protein diet. They also think it's a high fat diet, when in fact, these are just not the case at all. I understand that there are 5 stages of a condition called chronic kidney disease. From 1 being mild to 5, meaning that you may require a kidney transplant. Any link that keto would worsen any of these stages from 1 to 5 with chronic kidney disease, someone suffering from that?
Yeah, no, there's no evidence for that. And even though there's a lot of prejudging, when you look at it, and we have a group, one of my colleagues at Duke is actually looking at our clinical data. We have now thousands of people who've been doing keto diets, or low carb, high fat keto is what we teach. It's a real food based kind of program. You don't add in oils and butters and things other than in the cooking. So we're actually looking at all of the people who have had different kidney disease, and the results aren't out yet, but the preliminary look, it looks fine. And we're in the process of getting that information published. But I think one of the things that has to be done now is we need to provide evidence in terms of publications and to show that this just isn't the case. There's some things in medicine and, well, in any part of life in the world where even though there isn't any evidence for it, people believe it. And if you want to try to dispel that prejudice, you have to, well, it helps to show evidence for it. I was talking to one of my fellow keto-friendly doctors recently, and this was, again, one of the things a local doctor friend of hers was against keto, a nephrologist. And then 3 years later now, the nephrologist, the kidney specialist, is all for it because they've shared enough people back and forth, and the nephrologist at first thought it was bad, but now sharing patients and seeing that it doesn't cause kidney trouble, the doctor now is for it, because I mean, changing the food that leads to reversal of diabetes, reversal of obesity, and all these other non-scale things like heartburn, PCOS. I mean, it's really so powerful, something that's not data or evidence based, like a worry about kidney function. Just it's sad that that is the case. Now, I've even had people who are on dialysis, meaning they have no kidney function, and we can use a keto diet. Of course, you have to be monitored very carefully, because if someone's on dialysis, they measure the weight, every visit. Usually that's 3 times a week they go for the hemodialysis, and you just have to watch the sodium and the phosphate, the things that a typical dietitian working with a dialysis center would know. But so you can actually do keto with people who don't have kidneys anymore. I mean, and the kidney function problem didn't come from keto. I'm just trying to say that there's a lot of mistaken fear about it, when really, if you do it correctly, it's just real food, and it's healthy foods.
Now, in your clinical experience, have you ever seen the opposite side? In other words, that someone with a kidney impairment or chronic kidney disease has actually fared better whilst they are on a structured keto program such as yours?
Yes. Yeah. So actually, and this is one of those things that I want publications behind what I say, because it gets into the medical medical wrangling. I mean, the other doctors will say, show me a paper, show me a publication, but no, there's a lot of clinical evidence, meaning we observe it in the clinic, where the proteinuria will go, the protein in the urine will go away. If diabetes is the cause of the kidney problem, and there's a change in the kidney that's reversible, meaning that it can be changed because diabetes is causing it, and you fix diabetes, it makes sense that you fix diabetes, you fix the diabetes reversible. There's an irreversible, meaning you can't fix it, and reversible, meaning you can fix it. Some people with diabetes can actually reverse their kidney problem by doing keto. And yeah, that's one of these things that, because people say it can't happen, I've never seen it, we need to have lots of papers published before I will kind of wrangle with other doctors about it. I mean, right now, the patients that I see with diabetes, they come back to me because they no longer have diabetes. And the other doctors just kind of managed the diabetes without giving them an option to fix it. So not to worry. And so once you get into that, if a doctor kind of knee-jerk reaction, oh, you can't do that because it's bad for the kidneys, think twice. It's more nuanced than that, and that's a knee-jerk reaction that really has no evidence behind it.
Now, earlier on, I heard you mention sodium and sodium intake with folks that are on dialysis machines. How about sodium? Because that's another thing that people talk about that is harmful for folks with chronic kidney disease.
Well, once you get in, keto is great and doesn't need medical monitoring if you don't have medical problems. So I think a properly formulated keto diet is healthy for anyone. Children are born in ketosis, which is kind of a remarkable thing. But once you get into the medical realm, so that the body has a disease like a liver or kidney problem or heart problem, the body can't handle salt and sodium in the same way. So that's where, if you have these conditions, it's important for you to do this with someone who understands. Now, for most people, it's kind of a wash, meaning it's a neutral effect, because if you have more sodium, you're getting rid of sodium easier, because insulin helps you hold on to sodium. So, but if you have a sodium retaining kind of problem, and that's liver disease, heart disease, kidney disease, really, any medical problem, then you want to be mindful of the sodium. You may have been recommended to do a low sodium diet. And at first I carry over that recommendation into the keto diet, again, with medical monitoring. That's what I do in the clinic. And sometimes we adjust the fluid pills, the diuretics, and if someone comes to me and they're already on them. So it gets a little complicated for someone who doesn't understand how the human body works about the salt. But in general, if you have no medical problems, you don't have to worry about the salt anymore, because in fact, you might have to add salt because your body is getting rid of the salt better than when you were eating carbohydrates before.
Now, my last question is another one that I'm sure you're going to help us with. Besides chronic kidney disease, the next big one is kidney stones. And we always get asked, I've got kidney stones. Keto is going to make my kidney stones worse. Give us the lowdown there.
Well, what's interesting is there are certain medical conditions that can happen on any kind of diet, right? So if someone's had kidney stones and they're not following a keto diet, whatever they were, if diet is related to it, that diet was causing the kidney stones. So actually changing to a keto diet might be preferred, but there is this worry about kidney stones because sometimes there's you change your diet and then a kidney stone happens within a few weeks. Sometimes that's because the kidney stone was already there and the diet has a flushing effect of the kidneys, sort of like you're getting rid of extra water, and you might pass a kidney stone early on when you do any sort of diet. I mean, even if you just drank, a couple gallons of water for a week, you might flush that kidney stone out. This is one of those things that, yes, I've seen people have kidney stones on a keto diet. I've seen people have kidney stones when they're not on a keto diet. And the rate or how often it happens is probably about the same. I mean, there's one study, this is where you need a large scale study to compare the frequency or the how often something occurs between those who do keto and those who don't, when there's something that occurs in both kind of groups. And the one study that my colleague, Dr. Yancey, did with a couple 200 people per group or so, there was one, and this is a medical kind of program where it was in people with medical diseases, including history of kidney stones. There was one kidney stone in each group. So it was the same rate of kidney stones, 1 in 200 or so, even no matter if they were doing a keto diet or the low-fat diet. So this is a phenomenon that can occur. Another thing that I see that people have is gout. They might have a flare early on, but then they won't have gout again because it's the underlying problem that is causing the gout. So not to worry. I mean, the kidney stones are a bit complicated. If you have a couple, like 2 kidney stones, you should probably see a kidney stone specialist to see if you need treatment to reverse the metabolic issues that are going on. And you can actually send away the urine and have it analyzed and make changes in the diet and with supplementation even to prevent the recurrence of a kidney stone. So I guess the short answer is most people don't get kidney stones. I mean, like most people who live on other diets don't. And it's probably about the same rate. So I can't say that it will fix everyone's kidney stones. It's like the absurd extension is, car accidents happening when people are on a keto diet. I mean, it doesn't matter what diet you're on, car accidents happen. And this is one of those things that probably occur no matter what sort of diet you eat.
Eric, you've definitely cleared up a lot of misconception out there on this episode. Thank you so much. Folks, just to remind you, this episode was proudly brought to you by Adapt Your Life Academy. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. But don't forget to get your free bonus. It's Dr. Westman's free keto phase calculator, and the link will be in the description. If you'd like to learn more about Adapt Your Life and upcoming courses, you can find us on adaptyourlifeacademy.com. Eric, sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I forgot the most important thing. If you want to prevent a kidney stone from happening, like if you've had one before, remember what you were probably taught by the doctor who saw you, or if you never saw doctors, drink lots of fluids. Make sure you're flushing especially if it's hot out. And in the summer in North Carolina, it can be beastly hot. If you're sweating, you want to be sure that you're drinking plenty of water and liquids to keep the urine flowing. And that's the best preventative for kidney stones.
Eric, thank you again for all of your knowledge. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to catching up with you next week for another episode. Until then, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Glenn.
Take care.
If you like this video, you're going to love our Adapt Your Life Academy. So click on the link in the description to find out more.